Alrighty, we're going to cover what an e-collar is and how to choose the correct e-collar. So in front of us here we have an e-collar, we have the remote here, the collar itself here. So how the e-collar works is the remote sends a signal to the collar to stimulate, vibrate, or send a tone to the dog. It has contact points, which are pretty harmless. It's not sharp or anything like that. And you can see I'll put pressure on it. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause any puncturing. It's not a torture device. It's a very humane way to train a dog. So we're gonna get into how to choose the correct e-collar really quickly. And how an e-collar works is it sends signals from the remote to the collar itself, and depending on the model you get, you can go half a mile, 2 miles. Average person probably needs half a mile. Now when you're getting an e-collar, you probably want to get it waterproof. They pretty much all come waterproof. There's maybe 1 or 2 brands that don't. You want to get an e-collar that has warranty at least 2 years. If it doesn't, don't bother getting it because they do break sometimes. They're easy to get dropped into the water, get run over by a truck, you forget it on the hood of your car. So get something that's with warranty. I personally recommend and use and deal e-collar technologies. They're my #1 choice for e-collars. They don't pay me to say that. They don't, I don't endorse them because I get paid. I endorse them because I tried all the other e-collars, and e-collar technologies have been by far the most innovative, most responsive to problem solving, and they listen to their customers and other dog trainers. They are by far the best company to work with. Get e-collars from, in my opinion. And I didn't get paid to say that. So we're going to get into benefits of the e-collar and how to choose an e-collar. So when you're buying an e-collar, a lot of people go off price, and that's the worst thing to do. If you go and buy a cheap e-collar, you're going to get cheap results. And this e-collar here is about $200, and that's pretty low on the e-collar scale. And it's a e-collar that I recommend. It's called the Mini 300, and it's by e-collar technologies. How to choose your e-collar is very important. You want to get an e-collar that has a screen with a dial. And the reason that is, and you can see the screen just lights up as I move it. If I get a screen with a rotostat dial, which is up here, as I turn it, it moves by 1 increments. 1, 2, 3, so on. Now, how an e-collar works on a dog and how it feels, every time you push a stimulation button, it stimulates the dog, and it becomes uncomfortable for the dog to feel. So as I hold the button down, there's an uncomfortable pulse that touches the dog's body. And as I tap the collar, the dog feels the uncomfortability and then learns through training to come back or give to that uncomfortability sensation. So each dog has a different uncomfortability level, and everybody, just like dogs, have a pain tolerance. Mine's very low, some people's very high. The reason why I want everybody to use a dog training e-collar with a dial and a rotostat dial with a screen is I can see every number my dog's on. My dog might be a 4, your dog might be a 10. That's very important to get the right number. If you go buy an e-collar with a rotostat dial without a screen and it goes up between 1 and 8, that company fits stimulation levels between 1 to 20 in one dial or one setting. So you're gonna get if your dog's a 5, your dog doesn't get a chance to work at 5. Your dog has to work at 20 because that's what the e-collar brand offers. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing an e-collar. Make sure, biggest thing is get an e-collar with a dial. Make sure it's waterproof. Make sure it's got a 2-year warranty at least, and make sure it's got a screen and it goes up by 1 increments, no less, no more. You want it to go up by 1 increments because it allows for customization between dogs. That is key in e-collar purchasing. That is the best results you're gonna get is with an e-collar with that has 1 increment changes and has a screen where you can see, and it has a rotostat dial. So that's my recommendation for e-collars, how to choose the correct e-collar. For sizing the collar, make sure the collar is snug. You should be able to fit 2 fingers in between the collar and the dog's neck. Alrighty, so we're talking about the pros and cons, the good, bad, and ugly about e-collar training. one of the things people always say is, well, if my dog's e-collar trained, I have to have an e-collar on my dog all the time. And that's not true. Gecko is a personal dog of mine. I've had her since she was 6 weeks old. And I put an e-collar on her about 4 months old. The reason I put it on her was she's a Belgian Malinois. We got her for police work. She's super driven. She likes to herd and chase things. Gecko! Gecko! Come here. Aussie. Good girl. Free. So Aussie in French is sit. She has no e-collar on her. Totally off leash. No e-collar. She just wears a little fur saver. It's like a little metal collar. Never use it for training. It's just to hold her tags. Now, I just showed you there without an e-collar. I had my dog do a recall, come back to me, stop and sit. Now, it's not fast, but it's practical and it gets it done. Red is the dog here on the right. I've talked about him. He's got an e-collar on him. Now, two dogs, one has an e-collar, one doesn't. Both dogs look happy. They're, smelling, doing their morning walk. Now, e-collar myth number one, my dog, once it's on the e-collar, can never come off. And they're just showing you with Gecko, dog can come off the e-collar. As long as you stay consistent over time, you can remove the e-collar and have a dog be responsive to you. Red. Myth number two, you don't have to push the button all the time. Good boy, come here. Good, free, good boy. I didn't have the e-collar in my hand. I called Red, he came right back to me. So I don't have to correct the dog every single time I call the dog. The e-collar is there as a safety net. If I need to reinforce the command, I can push the button with the e-collar, reinforce it. Right away, I can get the dog to respond to me. If I don't have that e-collar and he's off leash completely, he likes to chase and hunt birds. He will leave me. I'm not foolish about that. I'm a dog trainer. I know how it goes. I know he has respect for me, but his genetical drive for chasing birds a lot higher than his respect. Sometimes it overrides his respect for me. The e-collar allows me to control him that way. I have that 100% safety net there for me if he decides to run off and chase birds. So there's two myths right there busted. One, Gecko, can my dog be off leash without an e-collar after a while? If you stay consistent, Gecko, Aussie. Good girl, free. If you stay consistent, yes, your dog can become reliant, off leash without an e-collar. Myth number two, do I have to push the e-collar every time I call my dog? Absolutely not. Red, sit. Good boy. Didn't push the e-collar there, I asked him to sit. Once your dog becomes conditioned and understands the commands, you don't have to rely on the e-collar. It's just on the dog for a safety net, just in case the dog decides to run off. You have it. You have 100% control over your dog at all times. Alrighty, off-leash control, heeling off-leash out in the public. Now I asked my dogs to heel next to me. We're at the beach right now. I really don't need to have them heeling, but it's something I practice when I'm out with my e-collar and my dogs. Free, good, go. Let me introduce you to Anne and Ava. Ava has been having issues with running off with her owner. We're doing the first session with e-collar training today, and as you can see, she has no signs of fear, pain, or anxiety, or shyness, which are a lot of things, negative things that come with dog e-collar training that people talk about. As you can see, she's a happy-go-lucky dog. She's not afraid of the e-collar. She's not afraid of Anne. She comes back, no problem. This is the result of successful dog training with a professional with an e-collar. Perfect.